When it comes to distortion pedals, Kurt Cobain will always be most associated with his Boss pedals, the DS1 and the DS2. Those are the two distortion pedals that he used for the majority of his career. He used the DS1 when recording Bleach and Nevermind, and the DS2 for the entire Nevermind era. So rightfully so, when people think of distortion pedals and Kurt, these are the first two pedals they think of. This might be a controversial take, but in my opinion, I think Kurt's best distorted tones did not come from a DS1 or his DS2, but I think they came from this pedal, the original Sansamp. This was Kurt Cobain's main distortion on the entire In Utero tour, Nirvana's two biggest headlining tours. And it is a very interesting and groundbreaking pedal. It was introduced in 1989 by Tech 21. And it is essentially an OG amp modeler way before amp sims were ever a thing, and it was a game changer when it came out. Sansamp is French, and the literal definition of it is without an amp. As an amp modeler pedal, it emulates many different amps, speakers, miking positions, and enables for direct recording. So Tech 21 designed this in mind to be used direct, so this would take the place of your entire amp rig essentially if you plugged it in straight to the board. It got so popular in the 90s that Sansamp eventually became an entire line of products for various instruments. So today, there are many different Sansamp pedals and plugins. But this, the pedal simply just called Sansamp, is the original where all of that started. From 1989 to 1992, it just said Sansamp on it, and that's what the pedal was called. It was just the Sansamp. The word classic was added in 1993, and it's been on there ever since. Tech 21 states that there is no difference in sound between the two, between the original Sansamp and the Sansamp Classic, but production methods have changed slightly over the years. The Sansamp Classic was put on a manufacturing hiatus in 2016, but was reissued in 2021. This pedal has a lot of character and can do quite a bit, and that's thanks to all the controls that are on there, so let's go through them. So right off the bat, we've got four main knobs: presence drive, amplifier drive, output, and high. And in the middle, you have 8 character switches that gives you different EQ and miking and speaker options. Mid boost 1, mid boost 2, low drive, clean amp, bright switch, vintage tubes, speaker edge, and close miking. There's also a 3-position input switch that gives you 3 preamp styles. Lead emulates a Marshall, normal emulates a Mesa Boogie, and bass emulates a Fender. This pedal was, and still is, renowned for being able to emulate the warm, thick sound of tube amps. You can essentially look at this pedal as a preamp, an amp, and miking emulation all in one. When you get the Sansamp Classic, you get a nice little manual that has 24 different sample settings. And these settings really give you a good range of the scope of what this pedal can do. Everywhere from warm cleans to super bitey crunch and screaming distortion. So as we've gone through, this pedal can do a lot, but Kurt used it strictly as a distortion pedal. It was his main distortion for the entire In Utero tour. His thick and mid-heavy dark distorted tone that we hear on the In Utero 30th anniversary shows is thanks to this pedal. This image has been floating around online for a long time, and has generally been accepted as being accurate to the settings he used on the In Utero tour. According to LiveNirvana.com on their equipment guide, they state that Kurt first used it at the In Utero sessions in February of '93. This is speculation on my part, but I think I hear the Sansamp actually a month earlier in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. We first see the Sansamp at the Roseland Ballroom show on July 23, 1993, right next to his Boss DS2. Both the Sansamp and the DS2 are at his feet from then on until the end of his career. Something I've thought about a lot is how drastic the jump is to go from the DS2 to the Sansamp. These are two very different pedals that give you very different distorted sounds. Since Kurt used the DS2 exclusively for so long, you think he either would have stuck with it or found something similar. But no, instead of going to a different or similar distortion pedal, he went to brand new technology at the time. an amp modeler pedal. I've never been able to find any sort of quotes or confirmation as to why he made the switch. I just personally think it's a really interesting switch because it's kind of drastic to go from the DS2 to the Sansamp. The DS2 wasn't replaced though. Every time we see the Sansamp, the DS2 is right next to it, so that never actually left his pedal board. But what is a big source of speculation and debate is exactly how he used these two pedals. There is amazing footage from the December 2nd, 1993 Tallahassee, Florida show where we can see Kurt's pedals and what he clicks on at what time. So it's very interesting to see that he uses the Sansamp for basically every single distorted tone except for the pre-chorus of Smells Like Teen Spirit. During that part, he only has the DS2 going, but then once the chorus starts, he goes back to the Sansamp and turns off the DS2. So while that footage does provide us with some insight, it also just raises more questions. Like, are there other songs where he did that? Where it was the DS2 for a section, the Sansamp for another section? There are many articles and websites that say that the Sansamp was only used on In Utero songs on the tour, and that the DS2 was used for Bleach and Nevermind songs. But based off footage and audio that we have, I seriously doubt that. I personally believe that he kept the DS2 on to stack with the Sansamp, to have both going for feedback and for noise jams. The new In Utero 30th Anniversary live shows finally gives us a clear picture of what Kurt's tones sounded like on this tour. And this is me speculating here, I could be completely wrong, but to my ears, it sounds like he uses the Sansamp for basically every or almost every distorted tone. So I'm comfortable saying that Kurt's In Utero tour distorted sound came from this pedal, not the DS2. Kurt's JB Fender Mustangs going through the Sansamp is my favorite tone of all time. In 2021, when Sansamp reissued the Sansamp Classic, I jumped on it right away. I'd been waiting for a long time for it to come back, and it was well worth the wait. This is by far my favorite distortion pedal. It's not only super fun to be able to recreate that In Utero tour sound, but this pedal can just really do a lot and gives you a lot of possibilities for distortion. So something a lot of people want to know and that I get asked a lot is, how does the reissue stand up to an original Sansamp? And we're going to find out in this video, because I have both the Sansamp Classic and an original Sansamp, and we're going to shoot them out in this video. This is my Sansamp Classic that I pre-ordered back when they first announced the reissue, and this is my friend John's original Sansamp pedal. He was generous enough to mail this to me so I could borrow it to make this comparison. Huge shout out to you, John. You're a real one, and I can't thank you enough. So we'll be hearing both of these pedals head to head on Kurt's settings, back and forth with various Nirvana riffs. I'll basically be going through an entire In Utero tour set list to play the main riffs using these pedals, and I've purposely included all the modulation effects of that tour so we can hear how the different pedals react to an echo flanger, a polychorus, and a small clone. There is one thing that's going to change as you're watching. Halfway through the shootout on the Sansamp Classic, I turned on switch 5, which is the bright switch. According to Kurt's settings, he did not have that switch up, but putting up that switch on the Sansamp Classic on the reissue, I think brings it a little closer to the sound of the original, because it's subtle, but I definitely do hear a difference in these two pedals. I'm not going to say much more to not spoil the shootout, but let me just say that after recording this, I purchased my own original Sansamp. It's not here yet, but I'm super excited. I don't know if I would have gotten it if I hadn't been able to test out an original one, so again, thank you, John. This is awesome. So let me know what you think. Do you have a preference between the two? Do you hear any difference at all? Does the bright switch on the Classic help it get closer to this? Let me know in the comments, and also let me know which Kurt Cobain pedal we should do a deep dive in next.
Thank you so much for watching. Follow me on Instagram at Nirvana Guitars, and subscribe and check out my other Nirvana gear videos right here on YouTube.